How do you see Adams fitting, and how much are they going to miss Valanciunas next year?
So kudos to Memphis Twitter for trying to look at this optimistically. I think that's
all right. Well, let's move on to the Memphis Grizzlies, who I don't want to call it a rebuild, but they are certainly retooling. They have been one of the more active teams on the trade market this offseason. I honestly don't even know half the players on this roster anymore. I've lost track of how many different trades they've made. The one I do know that they made was with the Pelicans. They moved up as part of a package to move up from 17 to 10. They traded Jonas Valanciunas for Steven Adams. How do you see Adams fitting, and how much are they going to miss Valanciunas next year?
So kudos to Memphis Twitter for trying to look at this optimistically. I think that's no. I'm being so I'm joking a little bit because I don't think Steven Adams is as bad as a lot of people are trying to paint him as. Remember how he and Seth Curry ended on a 50-50 split when we did that?
I know.
And now, if we did it now, it would be like 85-15 in favor of Seth.
If that, yeah, it might be even more.
It's just ridiculous. Like, Steven Adams is still good. I am not going to downplay that. He is still an elite rebounder. He is someone who can set mean screens. He'll do the dirty work. That's great. Valanciunas is better.
Yes.
He's just better. He's also an elite rebounder. He's someone who can come in and get you 20 points if needed. Very easily so in limited minutes. I mean, I think this was done to clear up more shot attempts for Ja and for Jaren and Dylan maybe as well. We'll see. I don't know what they're doing with this. I think they're just trying to get in a center who'll do all the dirty work, and then the talent can sort of sprout from within maybe. That's fine, but it's still a downgrade, which I don't really understand because they were in it to win it in a way. Like, they were competitive. They wanted to make the playoffs. They wanted to be in that environment. So why would you downgrade at this point is probably what I'm wondering.
I forget who said this on Twitter, and I'm sorry for stealing it. If it was you, please call me out and I will happily credit you. But someone framed it as like taking off the training wheels, this move from Valanciunas to Steven Adams, because as you said, this is going to put more on the plates of Ja and Jaren in particular, but just all of their young guys. Like, Jonas was averaging almost 20 points a game. So, he was this safety net for them that they don't have anymore. Steven Adams, averaged 7.6 points per game last year. His career high is 13.9. You're not going to run post-ups for Steven Adams. You're not going to run plays for Steven Adams. The only things you're going to do, he will get offensive rebounds and putbacks. He will maybe catch an occasional lob. That's about it. He's not posting up. He's not doing anything. So it's going to put more offensive creation in the hands of their young guys. And it's kind of sink or swim time. We know that Ja Morant is a future star. They have no concerns there. But I think this is leading into probably the biggest question for them of the offseason. We're recording this in early September. Jaren Jackson Jr. is currently eligible for an extension, has not signed one. I haven't seen any buzz about him signing one. Last year he missed, I believe, all but 11 games as he was recovering from the meniscus tear that he suffered in the Orlando bubble. You and I coming into when the league went on hiatus in March of 2020, right? Jaren Jackson's having a monster second season. I think you and I both would have thought this guy is a no-brainer max extension as soon as he becomes eligible.
Right.
That has not happened. So, A, do you think he signs an extension between now and the mid-October deadline? And B, what do you expect from him now that he is, more time removed from this injury? He should be fully healthy, ready to go at the start of the season.
So you asked me a couple months ago whether I would extend him, and I said no at that time. I want to pivot away from that. I want to change my mind.
Okay.
Well, as you and I have talked about over the past few episodes, You know where I'm going with this.
Yes.
The CPA is, or sorry, the TV deal, a new TV deal is likely going to be made at some point soon, which should cast a very broader net when it comes to free agency acquisition possibilities, as well as contractual enhancements because of the additional money that will be put on the salary cap. So just extend Jaren for whatever he wants, even if that's a max. Do I think that he is currently max worthy? No. Do I think he would be overpaid for a few years until that new deal set kicks in? Probably. Is he still interesting enough that you can bank on it and try to like see if you can cash out? Yeah. Like, we saw what he did in a year or two. Like, he's just a 3-point shooting alone, which is, it's not Davis Bertans in a way that he flings around like a guard, but it's also not like Lauri Markkanen standing still. Like, he hits threes off the move, like literally off the move, and he does so in a variety of ways. He's an active shot blocker. He's someone who can run to the rim and get lobs and catch lobs. He's a dreadful rebounder. And I don't think so. So the training wheels ideology, which I actually like. So whoever said that, kudos. I think that is fair. That is a very fair analysis. But it gets undermined by the fact that you also need to get Jaren to rebound the ball more. Because Memphis fans are looking at Jaren going, he's our future 5. I had that conversation on Twitter just the other day.
Oh, no.
Okay. If he is, he should be averaging more than 4.5 rebounds. And I realize people are like, rebounds are outdated. No, don't be stupid. It's not. I understand the ideology. You still need to rebound to be a good team. Like, you can't, if you're consistently giving up rebounds, that means teams are going to get additional chances against you. They're going to maximize their possession amount against you. Mathematically, that doesn't make sense. You are a better team if you rebound the basketball. This is one area where I will not listen to the analytics department. It is like, sure, you can argue the value of offensive rebounds, but if you completely say we put no effort into rebounding whatsoever, you are going to lose a ton of games because of that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, if he's not rebounding the ball and his teammates aren't, that means the other team is getting more offensive rebounds and more chances of possession, and probably with the defense in scramble mode. So no, that is not a ridiculous thing to say. And, you know, the training wheels analogy might be for Jaren's rebounding as well. Like, if you don't have Jonas Valanciunas gobbling up 13 rebounds a game and you go to Steven Adams, who's like 8 or 9, those 4 have to go somewhere else. Like, sink or swim time for Jaren as a rebounder as well.
Yep. Because we have seen not an insignificant amount of games where Ja's come out at the end of games with more rebounds than Jaren.
Yeah, which is not great for a 6'11", 240-pounder.
It's great for Ja. Like, he's a good rebounder, but you can't rely on your point guard to come in and, like, unless it's Russell Westbrook, but in which case that's a different story. No, I'm in on Jaren when it comes to like the shooting and the defensive flexibility and all that. That's great. Like, the rebounding is one area, and then I also just wonder if he's aggressive enough to be one of those featured scorers. That's another thing. But he's also so young. What is he, like 20, 22?
21, doesn't turn 22 till mid-September.
Oh, he's 10 days away from turning 22. Okay. But he's still so young that I'm willing to take that chance. The thing is, though, I'm reminded that any TV deal won't set in until like 4 or 5 years, right?
They expire after the 24-25 season. So his extension would be 3 years under the current one, and then if you do 4 or 5 years, those last year or two would be under the new one.
Okay, so it's the vast majority of a contract extension that will be played under the new TV or the old TV deal.
Yes. Yeah.
But you know what? Even so, the cap is rumored to spike $7 million next year anyway. That's significant. At the same time, I have to assume that next year again, it'll still go up by like 5 or 6 million. Then, like, just those 2 years alone, that's a jump of 12, 13 million per year. So I would just probably do it. I would gamble on this. It doesn't feel like a bad gamble. I don't think he's worth it at this stage, but it's the Jamal Murray thing again. And our friend of the podcast, wow, I can't speak today. Apologies. CJ McBride, like he kept hammering home this point when Jamal Murray signed the max extension with Denver. Like Denver knew they were not going to get full value out of that contract for the first year or two. Like it was after that. Now, that's taking aside the ACL injury, of course, because that just changes the entire picture. But I like that idea that it seems basically saying, look, we might only, for the first couple of years, get 60% back on our return, like for this investment. But then after that, that's when it becomes smart. I wouldn't hate a similar approach with Jaren Jackson Jr. I think there's definitely logic in the ideology that he's going to get better. I mean, again, he's not 22 yet. Where is he 2 years from now? Where is he 3 years from now? And I trust that his current production is good enough that he can justify getting better. So lock his ass up, even if it takes a max. Try to finagle it so it's not a max. But if it's a hard hedge from Jaren and his agent, yeah, go ahead and do it.
Yeah, this is not like an Andrew Wiggins situation where you have to beg him to improve. Like you could just have to throw last year out because it was 11 games coming off an injury. It just had he's like shaking off rust at that point. But yeah, I mean the talent is there that I'm still willing to bet on him. I mean, if you're the Grizzlies, I think the things that are giving you pause before you give him a max, the injury, the rebounding, and the fouling too. He fouls way too damn much. Almost 4 fouls per game in only 27 minutes. That's not great. So you have to be extra cautious with him. If he picks up 2 early fouls, you can't gamble and say, okay, we'll trust you not to get the third one because he's going to get the third one. So, those are things that he's going to improve upon as he gets older and he gets more experience. He's only played 126 games over his first 3 seasons. Right. So he's still, pretty raw for a big man. But the talent that he showed, especially in that second season, he got off to somewhat of a slow start, I remember, in the 2019-20 season. And then it was like 1 game in December where he just started letting it rip from deep. And after that, it's like a light clicked on. He's like, oh, this is how I fit next to Ja and how we just become unstoppable. Because if you have one of the most athletic, lightning fast point guards who loves driving and drawing contact, and then you also have a 6'11" big who can stand outside of the perimeter, knock down threes at almost a 40% clip, there's no guarding those two guys. That's Correct. It. Yeah. So I think regardless of whether they sign him to an extension, let him test restricted free agency, they should want to keep him in the fold long term, assuming, knock on wood, assuming he stays healthy moving forward. It wouldn't shock me if they don't sign him to an extension and say, let's see what you do this year, and then next summer we'll revisit it. And if you have the year we think you can, we will happily give you the 5-year max at that point, but we just can't do it right now. You gamble if you don't sign him, even if you're willing to go up to the max right now, but you just want to get more information before you do so. There's the risk that he takes a short-term offer sheet elsewhere, like we saw with Gordon Hayward in Utah and Charlotte, all those years ago. And especially, you bring up the TV deals. If I'm his agent, I'm telling him we signed a 3+1 deal so we can get out of this thing after the 24-25 season in case the cap does spike, 20-30 million again.
Maybe that's the hang-up. Maybe that's why we haven't seen a contract extension right now. Maybe
3+1.
Yeah, like maybe Memphis is like, you know what? We're actually willing to give you they can give him a 5-year max, right?
Yeah, I don't think they're. No, if he was offered a 5-year max, he would have taken it by now. I don't think that's on the table.
Maybe. Look, we've seen crazier things.
No, especially now with that injury history. There's no way. It's $170 million.
Yeah, I hear you. But we have seen a lot of players turn down ridiculous money. Just this summer, Dennis Schroeder turning down, or while that was actually in December. Yeah. I'm just saying, we've seen crazier things. Ernest Noel turning that. Well, okay, so he's suing Rich Paul because of that, but
yeah.
still.
I mean, that's 70 million, not 170 million.
Yeah. I don't know. I look, nothing would shock me at this point.
Yeah.
It's the NBA. It's all crazy.
So I want to ask about kind of the Grizzlies team building approach at this point, and then we'll move on. Because I have seen some criticism. They're playing like roulette with their roster spots at this point. I think they have 18 guaranteed contracts on their books because they just flipped Juan Hernan Gomez to the Celtics for Carson Edwards, Chris Dunn, and a pick. So yeah, like Jarrett Culver is on this team apparently now. Like they had Rajon Rondo for a minute as well. Yeah. They are just cycling through guys to accumulate more assets, and to some extent, good for them. It's a smart long-term play, but you have Ja Morant. This is now his third season. He's going to be eligible for an extension next offseason. And if you sign Jaren Jackson either this, in the next month or next offseason, you sign Ja, like there goes most of your cap space once those two guys are on the books. So do you think, have they wasted these years with Ja and Jaren on these cheap deals, or do you think, maybe next summer is their time where they make that Atlanta Hawks-esque splash, or like what the Bulls did this summer?
I don't think they wasted anything necessarily. I do believe in the mantra that if you have several young players still on rookie contracts, you need to optimize your cap space to have some possibilities of external upgrades. I will always have that opinion. But, it's not like they're in a situation where they can attract, the LeBron Jameses and Kevin Durant's of the world. That's just not in their cards at this point. I think the NBA elite needs to see just a little bit more from Ja and a little bit more of Jaren. Like the reputations from within, they happen when guys take that another step. You see that, like, there's a reason you just brought up the Bulls. There's a reason that guys are coming to Chicago also now that Zach made it to the All-Star game and was Olympian and scored 27 a game and all that. Like, NBA players are smart enough to understand, we need to see something before we spend a significant chunk of our careers going to this team to playing with this guy. I think Ja is going to be someone next year who takes that superstar leap. And as soon as he has.
After he averaged 30 points in the playoffs this past year?
Look, I mean, don't underestimate just the regular season success in this. Yeah. But I hear you. He did. I mean, but like Ja is that superstar tier guy, right? I mean, when he takes that step, that's gonna be it for him. I mean, that's where you're gonna hear guys outside the organization going, Memphis, huh? Okay, okay, that could be interesting. And then I think it's as long as they have money to spend or money to move around, like we've seen it. Doesn't even you don't even have to have raw cap space as long as you have flippable contracts and young guys. Then you can get players in via trade. So, and they do. Like, Steven Adams is on 17 million this year. What is he next year? Or is he is he in his last leg?
No, it's 2 more years. 17.1 this year, 17.9 next year. Dylan Brooks, who we've heard is available, 12.2 this year, 11.4 next year. Kyle Anderson, last year, his deal at 9.9 million. So they do have those mid-tier contracts. They do can flip. Yeah. And
Anthony Melton, if they really want to, I mean, I don't think they should, but I have to assume that if a team is giving up a star, they would definitely ask for Melton back. So definitely. You're right. They have these contracts that are flippable and movable. I mean, when you look at their salary structure, there is not a single player on the roster where I look at it and go, wow, he's overpaid. Like, not at all.
Steven Adams, but I mean, Steven Adams is currently their highest paid player.
Right, but it's 17 million though. Like, it's fine. It's not bad.
It's not great.
It's not great. No, but you catch my drift here. When do we label a $17 million contract for someone who is productive and can play, 20 plus minutes per night as bad? Like, would you find Steven Adams on any serious most overpaid lists around the internet?
No, I wouldn't say he's among like that tier, because that tier is typically reserved for like the $30-40 million overpaid. But
all right,
like,
well, fair enough.
I don't think they could trade Steven Adams alone for positive value.
All right, that's fair. But that said, I don't think a team will look at it and go, "Oh, we want no part of that contract." If it's about matching salaries, for example. Like,
yeah.
He is movable, and you won't have to attach a first-round pick to get off of him, for example. I don't think it's that bad.
If you package him with Melton or something like that, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. So they have their salaries very much under control. Is my point here.
Yes.
Which means that they can move pieces around. They can do all these crazy things if they want to. They can even attach a lot of young players, because good Lord, they have a lot of youngsters. And draft picks. I'm actually unsure. I haven't looked at their draft pick situation for a while. Like, they still have all their own picks, right?
I would assume so. I don't
remember them. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why they would have traded anything away recently.
I'm fairly certain that they have all their picks.
Yeah, they've traded some seconds away, but they
but first rounders. That's what
they own all of their first rounders, and they have a first round. Yeah, they've got a couple actually coming from Utah in 22, protected 1 through 6. So that's definitely conveying. Golden State 1 through 4 in 2024. So yeah, they actually have a couple other ones coming.
Oh, well, I mean, look, that's right there, Brian. That says it all. That means that they have the ammunition to go out and get someone. So
yeah,
next year, if Ja takes the step up that we all think that he can and will, they'll be in contention for someone out there who is willing to move elsewhere. Because as we all know, after a full NBA season, there are guys who wants to go elsewhere. That always happens. It's as sure as rain. So they have all those components to get that done. I have a feeling that next year, going into 2022, 2023, we'll be looking at a drastically different Memphis team.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at as well. Like, I don't want to say they're wasting Ja's rookie contract, because we could have said the same about the Bulls last year with Zach LaVine, and now look at, like, I want to give them an incomplete more than like an F grade. We'll see where they are in a year, and it'll be a lot easier to reevaluate. But I think back to our perception of the Knicks before they acquired Kemba. Like, we're like, oh, they just re-signed everyone and signed Evan Fournier, and that's the plan. And then all of a sudden they signed Kemba. It's like, oh, this all makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah.
Like, I trust Memphis has done a phenomenal job in the draft in recent years. I know the Zaire Williams pick this year was somewhat of a surprise, but they've earned the benefit of the doubt with how much success they've had otherwise, especially like getting Desmond Bane at 30 last year was a hell of a steal. Brandon Clark as well. So I'm intrigued to see how the young guys fit together. And yeah, I'm just curious to see where this goes from here, because it feels like they could be a sleeping giant along the lines of Atlanta from 2019 offseason, or whatever, 2020 offseason, and the Bulls this year.